one, and we're live. Hi, everyone. I'm here with Kaspar. We're doing something slightly unusual today because we're talking hobby and painting and nothing at all to do with competitive bolt action. So this will be the start of hopefully a series on my channel where I talk to different painters and they tell us how they do their stuff. And Kaspar, you must be the most prolific painter I know. You finish an army in like 14 days, something like that. It's crazy. It's insane. How many armies have you painted? How many minis have you painted this year, do you think?
Ooh. 800, 900, I think.
800, 900 this year.
Yeah, this year, yeah.
Oh,
I've had
that is
some huge projects, none
yeah,
of my own, but I paint for a Canadian,
yeah.
and the amount of minis he has in each army is incredible.
Yeah.
I got sent 250 miniatures at one point,
Wow. Yeah.
and it was, whoa, these cannot actually sit on my table.
Yeah.
So but oh God, just organizing them and
Yeah.
finding out uh, which paints to use, and most of them were British Airborne,
Mm.
so it was camouflage on most of them,
Wow.
and it was like, ooh.
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
he said to me, "When you finished, I have early war Fallschirmjägers for you, around 150." And I was like, okay. So it was really crazy, but yeah, I paint for myself. I paint for my friend as well,
Mm.
and then I paint for this Canadian guy,
Yeah.
and he throws roughly 500 figures my way each year.
Wow.
So and his armies are huge,
Yeah.
really really huge. He once sent me picture of his gaming table,
Hmm.
and it's 5 feet times 11 feet. And it's like,
5 feet
whoa,
times 11.
times 11.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, I can see why you need huge armies, because
Yeah.
you have all of this space and like 1,000 points of
Hmm.
bolt action on this table. They'll
Yep.
never reach each other.
Nope.
So,
They wouldn't be able to shoot.
no, it's like the heavy howitzer would be really good because it would
Yep.
be the only thing that would have a chance of actually hitting something. But
Wow. God, I would
it's
love to play on a table that size. It must
yeah,
mean a load of terrain as well and
yeah,
immersion and the actual like the movement of the armies becomes way different when you have that much
yeah,
space.
exactly.
Anyways,
So
today we're
anyway,
going to talk
yeah,
hobby, and you're going to tell us how to paint that many minis that quickly, okay?
yeah.
Because I have no idea how you do this. So, Caspar made a PowerPoint for us that I am going to share now. So, and we're going to do because you painted up an Alpini army recently. So basically, this is you telling us how you did that.
Yeah.
Um, and your subtitle here tells us a lot about your thought process, how to organize painting. So,
Yeah.
how organized would you say you are on a scale from 1 to 5?
When it comes to painting, 5.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. For me, it's part of the process. It
Mm,
is part of why I can see things happening.
yeah.
It is why I don't get painting fatigue
Mm,
uh, at all, because from the minute I get the miniatures, as you'll see in the PowerPoint, to when I'm finished, I think there's around 70 figures or something like
mm,
that, and it took me 3 weeks,
yeah.
and I waited a couple of days for my tufts to arrive. So it it is it's all about the organization of
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
So and I wouldn't say that the least part is the painting process, but you can do a lot to optimize your painting, definitely.
Yeah.
So
Right. So let's get into it. You start. So you're basically, by the way, the miniatures you received them on the 6th of November, and you were
yeah,
done on the 28th.
Yeah.
Yep, that is almost speed painting here. So where do you start?
Well, first of all, when I select an army,
Mm.
it's normally because of the uniforms, the headgear, or something non-competitive.
Yep.
And for me, with the new rulebook for Case Blue, I thought, wow, I really need to get the Alpini again because I've
Mm.
owned these before and painted them, sold them. Um, and I thought there's so much in the history of these Alpini that these are the ones I wanted to paint. So
Mm.
I had tried to paint these before, uh, and so I knew a bit about the colors that I wanted to use. But then again, I always do my research. I
Mm.
find pictures, and you can always count on Osprey books for
Yep.
that. You can count on if the producer of the miniatures is okay, they will have painted figures, and two of the pictures here are of the figures. These
Mm.
are from Great Escape games.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years ago, I invested in this book, which is,
Uniforms of World War II.
yeah,
Very
and it
thick.
has everything. It has 200 plus pages, and you
Yep.
can find almost anything. Every single nation that fought
Mm.
in World War II is in
Yep.
here.
Yep.
And of course, there are way more pages for Germans and
Yeah. Yeah.
Soviets and
Of course.
Brits and Americans,
Mm.
but something like Italy has around 15 um, uh, pages with pictures
Yep.
of figures. So you can get a lot of inspiration from these.
Mm.
So I always find pictures of the army that I want to paint.
Yep.
That is the first thing, and
That's the
then
first step. Yeah.
yeah, and if I can see, okay, there's so many different areas that I need to paint. What colors do I think I would actually use here? Because the picture from Osprey,
Mm.
these are I think very true in color,
Yep.
but they will not pop that much
No,
on
no,
the painting table.
they need a little bit more edge,
Yeah,
because
they
otherwise
do.
they'll just turn greenish gray. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
um,
the next thing you do is you select the colors that you think matches what you want to have happen the best. Is that right?
yeah, um, I always make a list, and I
Mm.
do this before any miniature has arrived. I
Okay.
always make a list. Um, of course, sometimes you need to see the miniature to find out how many different things
Mm.
you need. And even though I'm Danish, I always write everything in English.
Well,
Because
all the colors are in English anyway, so you might as well.
exactly, and most of the time, if I sell miniatures, people will ask me, well, how did you paint them?
Yeah.
And normally, I have my little black book.
Mm.
Every single recipe for everything that I've painted is in here. So I can always go back because otherwise I wouldn't be able to remember
Yeah.
what paint
Yeah.
I was using. So I pick out the colors that I want to use, and most of the times I will not mix colors. Now
Okay.
this is different for these because the
Mm.
uniform is wolf gray and field gray that I've
Yeah.
mixed
Yeah.
50-50
Yeah.
because that gives you the greenish, bluish, grayish color that you
Yeah.
actually want to have on these. And all the rest of the colors are a lot of them are go-to colors
Mm.
for me. Um, but again, I want to pick colors that will have a good contrast so that they don't blend into each other.
Yeah.
Um, so if I can select a color, if I have two colors
Mm.
and I think, oh, these are close to what I want to use, I'll always pick the lighter one
Okay.
because it will make your figures pop more
Mm.
on the gaming table.
Do you
So
think about warm and cold colors contrasting against each other, or do you just go by this is as close to the real uniform?
I lost your sound there. I think I can hear you again now.
Okay.
Good.
Can did I
Yeah,
did I cut out?
I think I got the
Yep.
essence of your question. I always go for historical
Yep.
first.
Yep.
Whether a color is warm or cold doesn't really matter to me that
Right.
much.
Mm.
So I always go for the color
Mm.
that I think is most historically accurate, but
Yep.
also I might I might take it a nuance up so that it
Yep.
is it will pop more.
Yep. So historical with a slight push towards brighter
Yeah,
colors, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. I'll give you an example.
Yep.
I have my paintings right here.
Mm.
So now most of the time you will find that the bread bags on and the bags, bread bags, everything that is sort of light is this color here.
Mm.
It's khaki,
Yep.
and if I can, I always use Vallejo,
Yep.
always. But I've decided to paint him in this color.
Mm. So that's a lighter tone of
It
more or
is a
less the
lighter
same
tone, yeah,
tone. Yeah. Yeah.
more or less, because it'll pop more.
Yeah.
Um, and nobody will notice the difference, but they will on the gaming table because you will be able to see the details
Yeah.
of the individual areas that you've painted.
Mm.
So I always go, without exaggerating, for the lighter color. If I have two that I'm sort of, which one
Yeah.
shall I choose?
Yeah.
So
So choose the paint that's brighter.
mm,
Is this also because of your use of washes?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Then you say line up the colors. This is again
Yeah,
organizational skills, isn't it? And
it
not
is.
painting skills as such. But what is it that you actually do? You physically make a line of the colors that you're going to use?
Yes, exactly as you can see on the really bad photo.
Yeah.
Because I have a lamp that is
Yeah.
blocking some of the colors. But the first two colors you can see if you start from the left are
Mm.
actually the wolf gray and the field gray.
Yeah.
And then I work my way from
Down
left
the
to right
line. Yeah.
until I get to my wash, which is the last, not two, but not the last one, but the second and third last
Mm.
colors. I work my way through,
Mm.
and I know it, once I've reached, and I always paint the flesh as the
Yeah.
last thing.
Okay.
Once I've reached that, I'm done.
Yeah.
Then I know the next step is a wash.
Yeah.
It means I don't really have to think. It's a bit like
Mm.
when you're driving. You
Yeah.
do everything. You become a good driver
Mm.
once you do everything because it is natural for you.
Yeah.
And for me, once I've finished the color, I'll just take the next color, put a bit out, paint everything.
Yeah.
And again,
That needs
it's
to
a
go there.
repetition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it sounds really stupid, but I don't think when I paint. Because normally, if I am doing um, different stuff, I cannot listen to a podcast
Yeah.
because my mind will
Yeah.
get confused. But when I'm painting, I can listen to the most difficult things that
Yeah.
I listen to on
Because you don't
podcasts.
have to think about it at
I
all.
don't have to think. The hands do the work themselves. So
Well, I think
it's
many good painters find that painting is very therapeutic, and
yeah,
we can sort of switch off. Well, even I feel that where I can switch off the brain and just sit there and
yeah,
just it's mindfulness, I guess. It's even sort of meditation.
yeah.
Yep, painting is good for you.
It is. It is very good for you.
Right. So where do you start when your figures arrive?
I check that everything is there,
Yeah.
everything that I ordered. And for this, they actually forgot a miniature. Those are
Oh,
important. Not for you, but for me, it's an LMG.
oh, not important at all.
And I for this list that I've made
Yeah,
and that I will bring to the Danish nationals, I have 5 squads, and
yeah.
each has an LMG.
So you
And now I
need
was
that one
suddenly
man. Yeah,
I needed that one, and because I ordered these directly from England,
yeah,
I knew that it would be hell to get
yeah,
that one,
yeah.
because I would have to pay the customs and handling fee again
You would.
for one miniature.
Yeah.
And despite me talking to PostNord, the
Hmm.
Danish postal service, uh, they didn't really want to budge
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
So I had to send it back,
Hmm.
and I had to make my own LMG. But
Yeah,
yeah, usually, and this is not a dig at Great Escape Games, because they have great customer service,
yeah.
and I've ordered from them maybe 15, 20 times.
Mm.
Um, so first thing you do, check that everything is there.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, and most companies will send you any miniature that they missed on the
yeah,
first send out.
yeah.
So
Yeah, the only problem that has arisen is when the UK left the EU. Brexit means that everything has become more difficult, basically,
yeah,
for us ordering in the UK.
yeah,
Right. Then you start prepping the minis themselves, I guess.
yeah. Most miniatures today, unless they are from really really old sculpts, don't
Mm.
have that much flash
No,
anymore.
no,
But I go through all of them fairly quickly. It is not something that will take me 3 hours.
no.
It'll take perhaps half an hour.
Yeah.
So I just go through uh, the major amounts of flash. If
Mm.
there's if somebody's doing like this, you might have flash in here. So I
Yeah.
make sure that there's no flash there. And for these, they were individual heads, so I decide which heads I want to use
Yeah.
as well. And most of the rifles are bent, so I bent them into shape as well.
Yeah. That is one of the things that I do not miss about using metal minis. I
Mm.
mostly paint resin and plastic these days,
Yeah,
but I do miss the weight of the metal minis.
yeah.
But I do not miss the bended weapons. Oh man, that could piss me off royally. And sometimes getting, I mean, sometimes on really old minis, like you had pikes and stuff that, and then they were bended, and you could never get that to be a straight pike again. That was
No,
never going to happen. So, oh man, in that respect, I
but
really enjoy the plastics, but
yeah,
they feel different. I will acknowledge that.
I will take a metal miniature any day
Yeah, you will.
over
Yeah, I
anything
know.
else. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love the fact that they have a certain weight to them,
yeah,
and I place them on what the Brits call washers,
yeah.
so they have even more weight.
Even more
Uh,
weight. Yeah.
yeah, so I would take metal miniatures any day
Mm,
over plastic or resin.
yeah. Do you heat up the metal once you need to straighten it out?
No,
No,
no, no. I
just
just,
carefully. Yeah,
yeah, do it with my fingers, or
careful pressure. Yeah,
yeah, pliers or
yeah.
tweezers or whatever
Mm,
whatever is needed.
okay.
So
And then what do you do?
when I start a project,
Mm,
most of the time I have made a list for bolt action, which means that some of the figures that I have actually ordered, I won't need everything. So I make a list, or I have made a list, and then I find the figures that I want.
mm,
Then I start to base those figures.
yeah,
And then for instance, the Alpini, there are a lot of SMGs in here,
mm,
and you can't really take that many SMGs
yeah,
with the Alpini. So there are some of the figures that I've put to a side. Now I've ordered two headquarters with this, so I had two medics. I will never use two medics, stuff like that. So maybe there were 80 figures all in all here, and I have selected 70 that I
Mm.
think these will be the miniatures that I will that
Mm.
I'll use, and those that I have put aside, I'll just put aside,
Mm.
and then I won't really think about them until I find out that maybe I should paint up a few more.
Mm.
But again, this is all about getting your army ready. So you paint what you have made in your list, and perhaps a few more riflemen, perhaps a different anti-tank option, something like that, a different mortar, so that you have a few options.
Yeah.
But you paint what you need in your list.
And nothing more. That
Nothing
also
more.
means that you have a rather like collected project here, so it doesn't become
Mm.
sprawling where you have extra bits that you just I'm painting these up. Not
Yeah,
that I think I need them, but you never know. Which typically happens to me all the time, basically.
yeah.
Yep.
Oh, it's so easy to order miniatures.
Mm.
It's so easy. It's so easy to expand your army.
Yeah.
But getting them painted once you've actually finished your project,
Yeah.
it's a bit harder.
Yeah.
So I most of the
True.
time I try and get everything.
Mm. Right. So then you have your army. They're all based and on washers, as you say.
Mm.
What happens then?
Then I find out all the figures that are duplicates, and I line those up
Mm.
so that I know when I pick this figure up,
Mm.
I will paint that figure perhaps 3 or 4 times. That means that it might not be on the first figure, it
Mm.
might not be on the second, but the third, I might actually spot a detail that I missed on the other figures.
Mm.
So you do the same thing. It's all about repetition.
Mm.
So you find all the figures that are duplicates and you line them up together. If you can see here on the row on, let's see, on the left
Mm.
from the bottom of the screen, row number 3, they're all
Mm.
sitting down.
Yeah.
And if you take the row right across them, these are figures that are all holding their rifles like this,
Yeah.
or like this. So you find everything that is a duplicate, and you
Mm.
place them next to each other. Of course, there won't be 10 duplicates,
Mm.
but you will have fairly
You will
similar
have some
figures.
similar sculpts, and
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And
and then
this is again done to ease the process, and because you have
yeah,
similar figures in your painting queue, basically.
yeah, the same. Not all of these figures have a backpack.
Mm.
So I know that if I have, let's say the first row on the right, they all have a backpack.
Mm.
So I know these will take a bit more time
Yeah.
than the officers or
Yeah.
NCOs, because they normally don't have a backpack. And again, I know that, okay, these have a backpack, these have rope, so I will need to paint that for these 6 to 8 figures.
Mm.
And so I take figures that if they're not duplicates, they are similar in poses,
Mm.
or the weapons they use, or the just the amount of equipment they have.
Okay. I will typically paint a unit at a time like this.
Yeah,
Uh, do you think about that, or are you confident enough that you can get the same exact colors for all your minis that it really doesn't matter that if you mix and match the units?
yeah, but it doesn't really matter for me.
Okay. Okay.
You won't be able to see a difference between the first mini and the last mini,
Okay.
because they are 99%
Yeah.
alike.
Okay. So I guess I do it because I tend to mix colors more than you do. But
Yeah,
okay, cool. And then you paint the weapons teams together, though.
yeah.
Is that why is that?
I don't really know.
Because they typically
No,
don't match the other poses,
no,
or
they don't. For mortar teams, they normally don't have that much equipment. And
Mm.
again, now this picture is before I decided that I wanted to put my weapons teams on large circular bases.
Yeah.
Um, and if I paint them together, I have a better understanding of how these will also fit together
Yeah.
on the base that I selected.
Yeah.
So I don't really have that much of an argument for why you should paint weapon teams, except that you know which figures are
Mm.
actually from
Yeah.
which weapon team. So
Yeah. Right. And then we get to the actual painting here.
yeah,
So you paint them one group at a time.
yeah. I lined them up as you could see on in the background of these pictures,
Mm?
in groups of 6 to 8.
Yeah.
That is because when I sit down in the evening, I normally paint for 2 to 3 hours, and I know
Okay.
that in 2 sessions like that, I will have one finish group, and then I will have one group um, that I'm more than 50% done, or that
Mm.
are more than 50% done.
Mm.
So more or less in 3 days, I will have finished roughly 16 figures. So I select one group, and
Yeah.
then I paint that group.
Now, controversial observation here. Caspar, are you not using a primer?
Not for these, no. But
No.
normally I am.
Yeah. Why not for these?
Because normally, if I can, I will use a spray can with
Yeah.
the color that I want. But
Yeah.
because I have not been able to find a color that I think is suitable for the Italians, I have just mixed the colors together, the wolf gray and the German field gray,
Yeah.
and then I have painted them. I've primed them more or
Yeah.
less, but
In those
in
colors. Yeah.
those colors, yeah. And I know that I will not have been able to pick out every single crevice or
Mm.
every spot on the figure, but I'll go back to that
Yeah.
when I finish all the colors.
Mm.
I will take my basic uniform color and I'll go back and find if there
Yeah.
are spots that I've
Gaps.
missed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but normally, yeah, I use a primer, but for
Mm.
this, it's more or less the same.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it is the same. I mean, a spray primer is just a way of priming. You can just as
Yeah,
easily prime with the regular colors that you use. They need to be a little bit thicker than many of the washes
yeah,
or like modern colors, I guess.
yeah,
So they need to be closer to the old basic colors that we all remember from the zeros and 1990s from Games Workshop.
yeah.
Um, yeah, right.
And
So
yeah, I paint all the basic colors of
yeah.
the group,
Yeah.
and the way they look now, they don't look like anything because
Yeah.
they this is, I think it's called block painting as
It
well.
is block painting. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
you
I
paint
do
all the
I use
colors.
this technique as well, like painting out all the blocks and then giving them a wash
Yeah.
afterwards, and then picking out details. So it's very similar what I do to
Mm.
how your process is. And then you move on to the next group. Do you finish them off before you move on, or do you actually finish them all off in one go?
No, what I do is I paint one group
Yeah.
on until they need to have a wash.
Okay.
Then I will move on to the next,
Yeah.
so that I have two groups.
Mm.
And then once both groups, which will be between 12 and 16 figures, I move on to applying a wash
Okay. Why is
because
this?
because it's again optimization. I found out
Mm. Mm.
if I sit down and I have to make a wash, I've more or less found out how much I need in order to apply a wash to 8 figures.
Yeah.
And then I found out that yeah, in this one of these,
Mm.
I can hold a wash that is more or less enough for 16 figures. So I measure my
Mm.
wash. which
Yeah.
we'll come into. Um, and then I paint, uh, put put the wash on two groups
Yeah.
because I said and I know some people will say, "Oh, you cannot do this," but but the wash actually dries a lot faster than it says on the on the can. So what I do is once I have done this to 16 figures,
Mm.
it will not take more than 5-10 minutes
Yeah.
before the first figure is dry, and
Okay.
then you can move on to um, adding your highlights.
Yeah.
But the one thing that revolutionized my painting was the discovery of the quick shade wash mixing medium.
Yeah.
This has turned my figures into um, not dirty miniatures. Like if you, I know the Agrax Earth shade is a
Oh
favorite.
yes, I
Uh,
use that in huge amounts,
I've
but
never used it. Never, never, ever
because you
used it.
use the quick shade wash mixing, and then you mix your own washes basically.
No, I use it with let's see. Normally with this one, a dark
Yeah.
tone,
Yeah.
because it will make stuff black
Yeah.
in the shaded and areas and crevices, and not just muddy. Because
Mm.
if you use a wash
Yeah.
without diluting it,
Mm.
it will just look like your miniature is dirty.
Yeah.
I've done this for a number of years until I
Mm.
discovered this. I thought, wow, this really makes a difference.
Yeah.
Because one thing is that it dilutes your wash. The other thing is it actually, or at least it says so, makes the wash flow
Mm.
better. So it'll flow into the areas where you want it to be. And I've never heard anybody do this except me, but I use 4 drops of the
Okay.
mixing medium to 1 drop of wash, which makes
That's
it.
a lot of mixing medium.
It is. I go through a lot of these during a year. So,
Guess you would.
yeah,
Eight to 900 minis, all of them using
all of
mixing
them
medium.
using
Yeah.
this. Yes.
Yeah.
So I use a lot of this,
Okay.
but then again, I don't use that much of my wash.
No. Yeah.
So I sit there and I count every drop,
Yeah.
so that this is also
So
to
you know
ensure
exactly what ratio you have. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I know the exact ratio. I know that it'll be similar every single time.
Yeah. And then once they're dry, you go back over them with the base colors again,
Yeah,
but
for
not
some
for
of
all
them.
of them.
No, there's no need to.
Okay.
Something like the boots.
Yeah.
I don't mind that they look a bit dirty
Okay.
because they're used on the ground.
Mm.
And something like the darker areas, there's no need for that either.
Mm.
But for these, I decided there are 3 things that I want to highlight: the uniform itself,
Mm.
and two of the lighter colors. The stone gray that I showed you, which is
Mm.
used on all the um,
The bags and
bread
yeah.
bags
Yeah.
and the straps for the backpacks as
Mm.
well. And then because these are alpini, most of them have ropes,
Mm.
and that is a good light color as well. One of my favorite colors is called silver gray, but it's like very extremely light gray.
Mm.
Um, and I go over that as well because it'll make it pop more. It's
Yeah.
in great contrast um, to the uniform.
Yeah.
And
So
for
so how do you pick out is these the colors that you think will contrast the most and make the figures
yeah,
pop? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Um so only do this to the colors you want. Yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah.
Um
And
and
again,
again, so very organized, Caspar,
yeah,
noting down everything.
because if I go back to these in half a year's time,
Yeah.
and I've added more men, I
Mm.
know exactly what I've done.
Yeah.
I don't have to sit and try and remember what I did.
No. You can
I
just go
know
back and you
everything.
know exactly what you highlighted. And will you give your? You said you'll give it a drop of white. Will
Yeah,
that because many people say that white will make your colors go flat. So are you just using a standard like matte white, or what are you using? Because some people use beiges or what have you instead.
my favorite color, silver
Yep,
gray.
silver gray. Yep,
Yeah. You can't. Now it's next to white color.
yep. So
I don't
it's a
know.
little bit toned towards a
Yeah,
warmer grayish color. Yeah,
yeah. It's. I think it's actually a bit cold looking.
yeah,
Um, but it's a great color, and
mm,
it covers a lot better than a
yep,
normal white as well.
yep,
And if you use it and you really want to highlight all your whites as well,
mm,
it's you can actually apply highlight to it.
yep,
But it will only be one drop
mm,
that you actually add to your basic color.
yep,
So for the wolf gray and field gray, once I've mixed that 50-50, I might add a single drop
yep,
of that. Sometimes I don't
yep.
because it's not really necessary.
Because you've already washed it down, so it's already toned
Yeah.
down. You don't need to tone it way up from there.
No,
Okay.
and the wash is not as heavy as a wash where you've just taken the product straight from
Mm.
the I can't remember what the name of this.
The stopper bottles?
The bottle, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's a stopper bottle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So once you've actually added the mixing medium, you don't need to do that much again.
Mm.
Where I
Then you
go,
finish off with the skin, as you said
yeah,
before.
when I paint again, I started by painting all my flesh with this one.
Yeah.
This is not Vallejo, but
This
it's
army
something
painter. Yeah.
it's on. And then I would highlight with this, with the
Okay.
barbarian. I
Yeah.
saw this on YouTube, and I thought, well, it's fairly easy because
Yeah.
you can get a lot of inspiration from YouTube, as
Yeah.
most painters know.
Yeah.
Now I've started to. This is my basic color,
Mm.
the barbarian, and then this, which is a lot lighter,
Yeah.
is my highlight color.
Mm.
So basic color, apply the normal wash. I wash all of the entire figure, and then I will apply a coat of this to
Okay.
all the raised areas. Once I've done that, I will add. Oh, it's here. I will add this flesh wash from Vallejo as
Yeah.
well, and this one I will not dilute.
Okay. Why not?
Uh, because I found out that it doesn't really make your miniatures dirty in the same way as normal wash,
Mm.
and it will actually help you pick out the lips, the
Mm.
eyes, ears, and between the fingers, as you can
Yeah.
see here.
Yeah.
Um, so, uh, as I've written in the last dot,
Mm.
you don't need to paint the eyes
Yeah.
because they're already sort of like they are in shaded
They're
areas.
already recessed and shaded
Yeah,
because of the wash. Yeah. So you never paint eyes on your miniatures, right?
never,
Yeah.
never.
Because
I did in the beginning. I did.
yeah,
I was never satisfied with the result.
no, it's almost never good on 28 mil.
Yeah,
Yeah, and especially not since you're basically mass painting. You're
yeah,
this is if you want to do mass painting, speed painting, whole armies, Kaspar is the guy to go to for this. This will
yeah,
not win painting contests, maybe, but you will get a finished army that looks good and looks consistent across the whole
yeah,
army, which is what I'm so impressed by with your painting here. You consistently deliver a very a good high tabletop plus standard on your miniatures, and you just pump them out so quickly. That's
mm,
that's basically what I think you're one of the best painters I know for this specific thing,
mm.
which is
I,
so
I would
cool.
I would
Yeah,
get bored if I would have to spend more than half an hour on a
yeah,
miniature. which
Yeah,
is the time I estimate that it takes me from the time I pick the miniature up until I'm
yeah,
finished with it. It's half an
yeah,
hour. I
yeah,
know the guys that will sit and paint highlights and highlights upon highlights,
yeah,
using glazes, everything like that,
yeah.
and maybe spending 4, 5, 6 hours on a figure, and it shows.
It
But
does, but it's a lot more
I
process
will
to.
get so bored with it. So,
Hopefully I can get some of those guys to come onto the channel and talk about it as
yeah,
well. Yeah, because it's a different technique, right? It's
it is.
completely different. I also paint like historical minis. I paint a little bit of fantasy minis and a lot of Napoleonics as well. And the process for me doing that is completely different from bold
Yeah.
action. So there's a lot of different, maybe like period specific, or because we need so many miniatures for bold action that I would never spend the amount of time on painting a bold action mini that I would on painting a dragon for Middle Earth or whatever.
No,
Um,
neither would I.
yeah. And then you finish off the miniatures after this with some basing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And basing, a lot of people have different ideas of how they want to do it. But
Yeah.
again, to make sure that I get more or less the same basing, I do the basing once I've finished all my painting.
Okay.
Once that's finished, I can do my basing.
Yeah.
And you do everything, or you do one thing at a time,
Mm.
and you do it to every single miniature. And once you've done that, then you can move on to step number two.
Okay, because that means that you again get a consistent look across the whole army. Every base
Yeah.
looks the same. For this army, what basing materials have you been using here?
Oh, this is something I picked up in a store in Copenhagen a few years
Okay,
ago.
okay,
It looks like very, very small pieces of wood,
yeah,
but it will not show once I
okay,
finished with them. I just wanted a brown color
yeah.
to
Because for me, it actually looks a bit like tea. I
yeah,
know some people use ground up tea.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's not tea. It is an actual basing
mm,
material.
yeah.
Yeah,
And you're picking
and it,
something where it will contrast.
yeah.
How do you pick that?
Because for me, again, I want to make these Eastern Front Alpinis,
Yeah,
and these you cannot get Alpinis in winter uniforms,
no,
but you can get them in summer uniforms. And I thought, okay, this will be the time where just before they switch to the winter uniform. So I won't be doing winter bases, but I will add snow to the base.
okay,
And with the uniform being green, I like that the base is brownish
yeah,
in color. I have a Bulgarian army, and they have
mm,
brown uniforms, so of
yeah.
course
They get green bases
they
then. Yeah,
get green bases. Yeah,
yeah.
because that'll make the miniatures stand out more.
Mm.
Um, so I always choose something that will contrast the uniform or the main color,
The
which
main
is
color,
normally
right? Yeah.
the uniform.
And again, you do all the minis before moving on
Mm,
to the next step. You're really good at this organizational stuff here.
yeah.
So, what's the next bit?
Well, it's basically just the next step of the basing.
Mm.
In this case, I have taken again my favorite color, the silver gray,
Yeah.
and then I've dry brushed all the bases. Again, it'll make the base stand out more because it'll have more dimension to it.
It becomes lighter, and at the same time gets that slight feeling for me of frost on the ground.
Exactly,
Yeah.
which is uh, what I intended.
Mm.
Um, and again, it is still a nice contrast to the miniatures itself.
Yeah. And then you add snow and
Yeah,
tufts.
yeah.
Um, what type of snow do you add, and how do you do it?
Oh, see, we have it up here. I use this.
Mm.
It's very good. It's a large container, and you'll have snow for more or
Yeah,
less all the winter figures you will ever paint.
yeah,
Um, but what I find is when I put if you just use hobby glue,
mm,
wood glue,
yeah,
and you put that on and you apply this,
yeah,
you will be able to see more or less the ground below it.
yeah,
So what I do is I put a few drops of white into my paint.
yeah,
Oh, sorry, into the glue,
yeah,
so that I will actually paint the areas where I want the
yeah.
snow.
Paint it white, and
Otherwise,
then you'll apply the flocking, and yeah,
and then I'll apply this.
yeah,
And that makes the snow seem more white
mm,
than it normally does. And this one I can't remember. You can get this anywhere, I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
And it might
Any
be a,
good hobby and modeling store will
yeah,
have these containers of flock.
yeah. So
Yeah,
and tufts, of course. And again, the tufts are these are from army paint. I normally buy them from what's it called, green grass, I think.
mm,
No, gamers grass, I think.
yeah,
These are from army painter, and these are frozen and winter tufts.
mm.
Again,
So you use two different types of tufts for
yeah,
the army? Yeah,
sometimes even three.
sometimes three. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many would you normally apply? Do you have an idea for that as well, or is it just random application?
Nothing is random.
I thought so.
No,
Sorry.
no. What I do is I put around three
Yeah.
on each, and if I
Mm,
have two, then I will. Every other figure will have two of one,
yeah.
and that means again I've lined everything up so that duplicates are
Mm,
next to each other. So when I start to actually put them into the different groups and teams, they will look random,
mm.
but it's not random application at all.
No. Now, to finish up your army, you'll apply a varnish. Most of us
Yeah,
will.
yeah.
Those of us who remember to do so, I still need to varnish my partisans. But um, do you have any preference there?
I've used Vallejos for a number of years,
Mm,
but I've ran into a couple of cans that they don't they do the varnish, but they don't do the matte finish.
yeah,
And this was actually a problem on these figures. So they've had two coats, three
yeah,
coats
yeah.
of varnish, and I used over to the anti-shine, which I also like from Army Painter. But still, I don't know what went wrong here. So I had to do sort of um, a third option, which
Yeah.
is this one here.
Which is ultra matte varnish.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it really does what it says on
Yeah.
the tin. Are you kidding me? This is really really ultra matte.
Mm,
So I've done that on a few figures that somehow would not come out
mm,
with a matte finish. But this is to protect your figures, but
yeah.
it'll also make the colors pop more.
Yeah.
I hate nothing more when looking at an army than if it's with high gloss. It
Mm.
looks so
That's
so wrong.
don't ever do that. Don't ever do that.
No.
Although I will say that there are some things you can do with a gloss varnish that looks amazing. But
Yeah.
uh, don't apply it to full mini.
No.
Don't ever.
So
um, right.
yeah, yeah. They are
And there
equally
they
good.
are.
Yeah. And then this one, I really think that this one is important. Now I've lined everything up. This is the first time I've lined it up
Mm,
in the groups that I intend to play it with. Now
mm,
here I have 5 squads of 8 men, each with an LMG. I have 4 man headquarter unit um, at the bottom of the screen. I have some extra units behind it. I have 2 artillery pieces, 2 AT rifles. Medium machine gun, you need that one in your list.
Don't listen to Kaspar. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's delirious from all the fumes of
Yeah,
the mad varnish. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I have a medic, I have my artillery observer, a light mortar, medium mortar, and
Yep.
my favorite mule teams as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you for me, this is the best thing. It is so close to actually playing. When you have your army and it's finished, it's all dry. Everything is looking exactly as I imagined it when I started. So really, take a moment to actually pat yourself on the back because you finished the project
Did.
you set out to do.
Yeah. And it's such a rare sense for most of us, I guess. Most of us are gamers that end up with huge collections of unpainted minis, the piles of shame.
Yeah,
But
I
having that
I don't
no,
I
having
don't
that
have
full
pictures.
project,
Yeah,
I hardly recommend, because just having for once that feeling that Caspar is describing here, I think I need to start a project. Like, what do I need to paint? I need to paint something.
mhm.
Just do a project like you do. It really sounds like a sense of accomplishment at the
It
end.
does. Yeah. And the last thing, share pictures. Take pictures of your minis. Always. Like I said,
Both to help you remember, but also so that people can admire it, I guess.
yeah,
Uh,
but also
Share it
just to
on the
share.
forums. Yeah.
Because I might find, like the first slide said, or the
Mm,
second slide said, I will find pictures of the miniatures. I will find book references
yeah.
where I can see pictures of it. But I also look at what other people have done.
Mm.
So every single time that you can find pictures that inspire you, uh, it's great. And if somebody gets inspired from my painting, it will be excellent because I've been inspired by so many other people's paintings. So remember to take those pictures.
And share.
Yeah,
Right. If you have enjoyed this, then thank you for tuning in. And if you have any questions for Caspar or me, we will try and answer them in the comments for the video. Um, Thank you so much, Caspar, for doing this interview. And I really admire your persistency. I will get to sitting down and painting now, I think, because I feel inspired by you.
thank you.
I have stuff to paint that I need to paint up for my next tournament. So yeah, that's what I'll do with the rest of
Yeah,
my weekend. Thank you so much for coming on, and
no problem.
all links that we will need. Caspar, if you want to share any links or anything, send them to me. I'll share them
Yeah,
in the description for this video. That was it, everyone. I will see you in the next one. Cheers.
bye bye.